Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. My name is Ashley Picard, and I am the Operations Manager for the Tribal Transfer Station. I came up here about 9 years ago. A little bit of history on our program. The transfer station opened in 2001 after closing the tribal dump. Our solid waste is transferred to Finley Buttes Landfill in Boardman, Oregon. And we provide all of the solid waste and recycling collection service within the reservation boundaries, which includes over 900 residential customers and approximately 35 commercial accounts that are serviced weekly. We are a relatively smaller program consisting of only 6 staff. Some acceptable recyclable materials here at the transfer station include scrap metal, aluminum, tin cans, which we ask that the labels be removed on those and them to be rinsed out, corrugated cardboard, and we ask that the boxes be flattened and contain no waxy surfaces, styrofoam, or plastics. Office paper, which includes white or pastel colored paper, envelopes, junk mail, file folders, and manila envelopes. Please remove sticky notes. Mixed paper, which includes newspaper, magazines, and phone books. Please have no string, twine, or other banding to hold this together. And then another common misconception that recyclers have is that office paper can be mixed in with the mixed paper. However, that is not true. Electronic waste, which includes computers, monitors, televisions, etc. Car and industrial batteries. Appliances, including washers, dryers, refrigerators, freezers, etc. And there's a small fee applied for this. Motor oil, and we ask that this be placed in plastic jugs with a lid containing no other liquids. There is a small fee applied for this as well. Tires, including car, truck, and tractor tires, there is a fee applied to this as well. Some tips on how to be a better recycler. Reduce and reuse first. Bring reusable bags for shopping. Consider buying used or previously owned. Look for products that use less packaging. Instead of throwing away unwanted clothes, furniture, electronics, or otherwise perfectly working conditioned materials, donate them instead. Avoid purchasing single-use plastics. And then recycle. Place recycling containers next to waste receptacles. This increases the likelihood of you to actually recycle. Follow the rules. Clean cans, remove labels, flatten boxes. Don't contaminate the other recyclable materials with garbage. And then reduce and reuse first, recycle last. Future goals. A major future goal that I have for our program would be to start a composting program. A few barriers that are in place for us would be staffing needs, land, and specific equipment. We have inherited a wood chipper from the DNR program, which is not totally functional at the moment, but once we get that up and running better, I would like to start wood chipping the trees and natural debris that comes through that is clean wood, of course, and then be able to provide that to our community, whether it be the community garden or the native plant nursery or just locals. I would love to be able to answer some questions for you all. However, this is a pre-recorded presentation. So my contact information will be included at the end of this. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to contact me there. Thank you.
So thank you, Ashley, for being there. I am really, really glad that the tribe has its the Tribal Environmental Recovery Program and facility. It really is actually a big compliment for the tribe to be able to do its own waste management. I know that when a couple of years ago, when the Chinese government stopped accepting plastic as a recycled material, it really forced everyone to think differently about their waste, since we couldn't recycle plastic. Fun fact, now we know actually that plastic was never recyclable, that it actually was going into incinerators in China, which was contributing to a lot of China's poor air quality. And so it was actually a really great thing for their communities and their people to say that they were no longer going to be the dumping ground for the world. But it did then force the world to confront the way that we, manage our materials. And so I am thankful that I'm going to piggyback a little bit on Ashley's time to talk about some other things that are happening and some other ways that we can rethink our waste. And so I'm hoping that you can see a slide here. I'd love Aaron to let me know that he's able to see a slide, PowerPoint slide.
Looks good, Colleen.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some things that are happening. So again, I'm a deep lover of garbage. I know that sounds really weird, but it really is an interesting examination of our society, the things that we throw away. And the fact that we have waste, to begin with, really flies in the face of, I think, a lot of the ways that we would want to manage the world, because having waste implies that there is something left over, and nature doesn't leave anything left over. It merely repurposes things. And so the waste that our society generates tells a lot about us and shows us a lot about what we can improve on. And so waste, especially when we talk about climate change, really has an important role to play, because so much of the garbage that is generated contributes directly to the warming of our climate. So I have a couple charts here that show a breakdown of the one here on the top right shows the 2008 methane emissions in the United States, so just one country alone. We see that landfills actually make up 17% of the methane that's emitted. And methane is important because it is an extremely potent greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide gets a lot of attention because it's the one that gets put off most frequently, but methane is an 84 times as potent as carbon dioxide in trapping heat in our atmosphere. And so wherever we can reduce generation of methane would be really a great chunk out of the carbon that is emitted into the atmosphere. And so where does that methane come from with the landfills? Methane is emitted when organic material decomposes without oxygen. And so if you were to just throw like a apple core out into the forest, it's going to decompose with that oxygen around it, and it's going to create carbon dioxide in a way that's really natural and actually really helpful for the cycling of nutrients. But when you put that apple core under piles and piles of plastic and clothing and all of the other things that we throw away, it doesn't have oxygen to break down. And so during that decomposition process, instead it creates methane. And then that methane is released into the environment as it kind of seeps up out of the landfills. And so this chart down here to the slight left of the other one shows a 2013 global estimate of what goes into landfills. And so we see roughly 62% of materials globally that ends up in landfills is organic material. It's that paper, it's the food waste, it's yard trimmings, and it's wood. And so this is really a great opportunity for us to be more conscious about the things that we throw away and the way that that contributes then to our climate crisis. So with that in mind, there are a couple of really great things happening in our corner of the world that I just really wanted to highlight because it's something that I've kind of thought of could be part of the climate adaptation plan. The city of Portland has a master recycler program. So this is a really hands-on learning experience when, non-pandemic times, where, volunteers get to learn about what is and isn't recyclable. Ashley did a really good job of taking us through kind of that specific list of things that are recyclable, but I always find myself having questions about what is truly recyclable. I know that like Tetra packs, those wax cardboard packs used to be recyclable and now no longer are. But you know, that information is not readily available, and there isn't really a central location we can go to ask some of these questions. And so this Master Recycler program would be a really great opportunity to train people for answering those questions or knowing the best route for some of those materials. Oregon State University has a Recycling 101 class. It's a virtual class and it's offered on demand. And I think it's approximately 15 hours of coursework, and there are actually educational credits available too. So if you're looking for some continuing education, that might be a good opportunity. And so that course really talks you through kind of those nuts and bolts of where we're losing opportunities to reclaim some of these materials. And so this is something that I thought could be a really great community effort, is to engage in one of these classes in kind of a communal learning experience. We also, in Clark County, Washington, there is a Master Composter program. Compost, as Ashley talked about in her video, would be a really great way of reclaiming a lot of those yard trimmings, a lot of the tree debris, a lot of the food waste that we generate that we've seen goes to contributing to methane production. And so to learn best and better ways of composting would be a way of recapturing some of that at a home level, but then also, you know, there's ways to scale this up into a community level program like Ashley was talking about. I know from my personal endeavors that I love pallets, wood pallets. I pick pallets up behind the EO. Please don't tell them that I do that. And I think that Wild Horse, also behind Wild Horse, you can get pallets, wood pallets. And so I love to do little rinky-dink construction projects with my pallets, and mine look terrible, but I also wanted to show some examples of ones that don't look terrible. There is a little bit of a effort into taking these apart and putting them back together again, but I find it kind of fun. I got like a rubber mallet that I get to hit a crowbar with. It's a little bit of an anger, stress relief therapy for me. And so I recommend anyone that is interested in that, maybe just give it a try. There is a caveat though. I want to make sure that people know that not all pallets are made the same. There are some pallets that have really harmful chemicals in them, so you shouldn't be using those or burning them. Please do not also burn them. And so this is a quick little chart that shows the pallets are stamped with different information that tells you kind of what's been done to them. And so we see things like methyl bromide, they'll be stamped with an MB. Please do not use those for anything. Please do not burn them. And then colored pallets, anything that's a blue pallet or a red pallet, please do not use those. Please do not burn them. And then the last thing I wanted to really highlight was the Rebuilding Center in Portland. This is a really great center where they take in material that can be salvaged and they do a little bit of work with it. The picture down here on the left is a gentleman who's actually removing staples from like a tack board so that it can be reused and repurposed. And so this facility does a really great job of inventorying those materials and making them available and reselling them. They also have online classes, which they cost a little bit of money, but they give you a training course on different things that you can do to reuse these. So there's one coming up that I think I'm going to sign up for that's refinishing floors and surfaces. And so that's like, how do you make a wood surface that looks not so optimal look better? And there are a bunch of other different kinds of classes that they offer. And so these are just some thoughts that I wanted to kind of throw out there as part of this, that we have some amazing opportunities here in the future to get to do some of these things. And I know that there are grant programs out there to fund some of these, but it's just coming together and making them happen. And so I think that the future is really bright, and I'm really excited for the potential to recapture some of these materials. So with that,